Hello kids. So previously we had drawn a story map to write a story. But just we had written in S3, S2 that only the story map. So here what we are planning is, basing on that sentences which we had written in the S2, we want to write a fantasy story. Okay. So in your notebook we want to write a fantasy story and we want to check that one. Okay, so a fantasy story using the characters. So we had written the title and some characters, and also we have written some settings in our S2, and we are planning to write some real and imaginary events. So basing on that, you want to write a story. Okay, so for that we want to open our volume, page number 43, and let us see some examples. There are two examples which we want to read them. Okay, and basing on that, we want to complete our checklist. So first you want to write in your notebook. Let us read from volume 2 stories and find they are fantasy stories or not. Then in notebook we want to write. So all the kids, you write now in notebook a fantasy story. Then complete your S3 by checking your checklist. Okay. Now let us see the volume. So now let us read the stories, 2 stories which are given in our S3 and find which is a fantasy story. So first one, see about penguins. Penguins are birds that cannot fly, but they swim very well and spend most of their lives in the sea. So it is true, the penguins are the birds, really they cannot fly and they can swim. Yes, and they spend in the sea, the total time they spend in the sea. All penguins have a big head and a short, thick neck. They have a short tail and flippers. So, did you ever see the penguin with a short tail and flipper? Yes, they have that. This helps them to dive deep into the water and fly underwater at a great speed. So, the tail and the flippers help them to dive deep into the water and also fly underwater. They have webbed feet that they use when swimming. Like most birds, penguins have a poor sense of smell and taste. So, they are comparing with the other birds. Like other birds, these penguins also having a poor sense of smell. They can't smell properly and they can't taste. They can see well only underwater. Penguins are the world's most interesting birds. So, children, in this story, did you find anything unreal and anything magical? No, mostly we found only the facts about the penguins. We didn't find anything which is magical. Yes? So, if it is a fantasy, we want to put a tick. So, here can we put a tick mark? So, just observe whether that is a fantasy or not, and according to that you want to put a tick mark. Now, see the B. Yesterday when I was walking down the street, I saw a small hole that had beaming lights. So, here we can observe that a person is there walking down the streets, and from a small hole he had observed lights. How I wished to see what was inside the hole. Because from a small hole, how come the lights come? Does it really happen? So, this boy wanted to see what is happening in that hole. I became as small as a rat and made my way inside the hole without thinking of how I could get out from there. So now what happened? The boy or someone, a person, he thought to become a rat, and suddenly he became a rat and went inside that hole. He didn't think what would happen to him and how he is going to come out. So this is a type of sentence. Okay, so we can say check this and we can find whether it is real or magical. You can guess by listening to this and by reading these sentences. Now let us see the middle. What happened? I found myself in a toy store that was sparkling with the lights of electronic toys. So from the hole, this boy, he entered into the sparkling lights of electronic toys. There are some toys in that shop. It is a toy store. In that hole there is a toy store. There were so many toys to choose from. In the last row, I saw 3 dancing penguins. They were so cute. When I picked them up, they started talking to me. I was shocked. I decided to take them home. Now this boy turned into a rat and went there, and he found some penguins, talking penguins. They were dancing also, and they are looking cute, and he was shocked when they were talking. So what he decided to take them home. Now see the third one. As I made my way out of the hole, I felt myself growing bigger, and soon I was back to my original size. When I got home, I found the perfect spot for my penguins. Now he reached home and he was taking those penguins to home. I made a nice house for them in my garage and gave them food and water every day. Nobody would ever find out my little secret. So this is the secret which we had found. Now the boy had taken them to home and he was feeding them, giving food and water every day. Okay kids, from these two paragraphs we had read now, just tell me which is a fantasy. So these are the stories which came from the imaginations. Yes, the penguin story is the real fact which really happens. Even you can write about a cow, an animal, really what happens, really how it is, that you can write. That doesn't need any creativity, no imagination. But here to write such fantasy stories, we want imagination. Now basing on that, we can go for the checklist. So you want to plan a story like that, and basing on that you want to check the checklist in your page number 43. So your story must have a character, and the character must go on a magical adventure, and you want to write where the story take place. So according to our story map, you want to write everything, and the story must have a beginning, middle and ending. And also because we are writing about the past, you want to use the past tense verbs and also capital letters and full stops, and you want to complete your S3. Okay kids?